Hello and a very warm welcome to Welspun One and CNBC TV18 present the transformation of Indian warehousing. The warehousing industry in India is undergoing a revolution, driven by the rapid growth of e-commerce, shifting consumer behavior and demands, and the push for more efficient supply chains. Once considered a behind-the-scenes player, warehousing has now taken center stage as a vital component of India's economic infrastructure. Today, we look at the developments of this industry via the lens of an established industry leader, Welspun One, that stands at the forefront of shaping India's industrial growth story. Let's explore how Welspun One, a leader in industrial real estate, is redefining the logistics landscape with its innovative, sustainable and future-ready solutions. From their journey of remarkable growth in just 5 years to an ambitious plan of rupees 4,000 crore third fund, we'll also uncover the vision and strategy behind their success. Joining us to unpack all of this, Anshul Singhal, Managing Director of Welspun One.
Thank you.
And my first question is about the journey of Welspun One, and you've been in the industry for a long time. You have noticed the trends and the journey. When did it all start, and what were the milestones?
Oh, I thank you for asking that question first. I love talking about our journey. It's just very nostalgic to, recap that. So we started, as I always say, close to wartime. We started 3 months before COVID.
Ouch.
As a company. And 2019 December is when we actually kicked ourselves off. And then, 3 months later, luckily we got those 3 months in office because we ended up doing a lot of work in those 3 months. And just when things were turning a corner, there was this sudden lockdown announced by Prime Minister. And then I was pretty sure at that time our group chairman is going to give me a call and say, this is a new business. So let's mothball it for some time. Maybe sit quietly and we'll do it later. But the visionary that Mr. Goenka is, he called and said, this is the best time for warehousing. This is the best time for logistics. Let's take care of our people. Let's be safe. But at the same time, just go. Like take all your wings off and just fly.
That's quite a foresight, because around that time, the businesses were thriving, in this industry. Yeah,
it is. It is a foresight. And being from the industry, I didn't see it, but he did. And anyways, long story short, I ended up hiring my entire senior team online, right? So there was no team. There was me and my secretary and 2 other people. And then we ended up appointing our entire CIO, our CEO, our CFO, the entire top team online. And the biggest challenge at that time was delivering them laptops. So we started having meetings on, cell phones and Teams calls on cell phones and building that culture, without realizing it, because we started in such a difficult time. Not only did we start at that time, we ended up launching our first project, which was like a 1,000 crore project. Land was already acquired, luckily, beforehand. And we ended up signing our first lease, and not just any lease, it was a 10 lakh square feet lease, like a 1 million square feet lease with a company called FM Logistics. And we ended up, launching our first fund. All of this online, obviously by the time we had laptops delivered. And the company started building this culture of resilience. And that continues till date because that's just become habit. From there on, we ended up raising our first online fund. And the reason I called it an online fund is because we didn't literally meet any investors physically because COVID was still very much around. So a first time fund, but raised online, 500 crores. And we had a good pipeline, deployed most of that across about 6 investments. And then we went ahead and raised our second fund recently. So that was 4 times of the first one, 2,000 crores.
Right.
And fun fact, but the first fund we raised 500 took us 12 months. In the second fund, the 500 we raised in just 3 months, right? So that's the trust that investors have on us. And now, of course, the plan is to go from 16 million square feet of what we have today to 32 million square feet by 2028, which will put us at $1 billion of asset under management. So really 0 to 5 has been about growth. Right. The hardest, 1 to 5 is normally the hardest. 5 to 10 is a little easier, but there's not a dull moment in our team, and we're always inspired to do the next big thing.
Wonderful. But you make it sound so easy. It wasn't as easy, I'm sure. And there must have been challenges. The first one being that you started business during COVID.
Yes.
And things have changed in the industry since then. A lot has happened. And compliances and customer behavior and demands and putting the logistics together, the last mile, the first mile. I'm sure there were challenges. We do also want to take a peep into that bit.
Yeah.
Also understanding from the experience of Welspun One, the entire industry perhaps, because the challenges are similar. So what would you say were those moments like?
Yeah, so, COVID aside, I think the biggest challenging we as an industry face is, like you rightly started by introducing this session, is warehousing is always looked at as that shady space in old Hindi movies where crime happens, right? And but that's not true, I promise you that, right? Not anymore. I mean, if you come to any of our parks and if you see any of our warehouses, they are grade A, spick and span, clean, safe places to work. In fact, the biggest challenge was just changing that perception of warehousing. Just coming into that, hey, it's a great space to be. Otherwise, in real estate, you have, hospitality, which is hotels, fancy $10 million apartments, or high-rise offices. But warehousing was that little small boy in the corner. No longer the case, right? So billions of dollars has flown in from international funds into India for warehousing. We've raised about 2,500 odd crores. We're raising another 4,000 crores in our Fund 3. A lot of capital behind it, a lot of customer. In COVID, it became clear that warehousing is essentials. So they continued running. So that's one. And, besides that, the biggest challenge in the industry always remains land. So buying land for these warehouses is an issue. Regulatory issues, as I always say, that infrastructure is always running behind trends. So the regulatory framework has caught up now finally, but when we started, it was still a little premature. So we had to work around a lot of regulatory challenges, convince the government, work hand in hand in them, but we got great support for logistics and warehousing. So, besides the regular challenges of building a project on time, delivering a pan-India business, hiring talent, putting together the right team, those are challenges which you go through anyways. I think land and, probably the fast-moving sector changes would have been our biggest challenges.
All right. You thrive in challenge, I can say that. All right. Welspun offers warehousing solutions at multiple levels. So there's first mile, there is last mile, there are infrastructure-led projects. Could you take us through the distinctive features that the company offers?
Yeah, so absolutely. So in Welspun One, we have 3 different product categories. And, we felt the need to actually brand them differently. So the first one is something we call Proxima, the second one is Pulse, and the third one is Gateway. And I'll talk about all 3 in, about 30 seconds each. Proxima is our big box, first mile, large format warehouses, which is something that we are building 10 of at the moment, which we deliver close to city centers like Mumbai, Pune, Bangalore, Delhi, Chennai. These are really large fulfillment centers for like an Amazon or a Flipkart or a Delivery or a Tata, what we call bread and butter for the business. Obviously, with the new quick commerce coming in, we need to be inside the city. So every time we meet customers, they want to be in city center spaces. So finally, we figured out a solution that the only way to launch that is a mixed-use development. So the new project that we're doing in Thane is logistics at the bottom, office at the top, restaurant, a high-end F&B at the top, and retail on the side. So it's like 4 asset classes into one, which is what we're calling Pulse. Why Pulse? Because it's like a heartbeat in a city. And the third product is Gateway, which is like a trading at a national level. So our first project is in JNPA, which is inside a port. It facilitates import-export trade from and to India at a national level. And in the future, we hope to do more such projects. So there are multimodal logistics parks and the likes. So Pulse, Proxima, Gateway, first mile, in-city, and infra-led are the 3 effective categories. And why we do this is important. We do this because, it helps us service 360-degree of our clients' requirements. So that's what we do.
Wonderful. So Proxima, Pulse, and Gateway is what we spoke about. I do want to know about some of your clients, big clients and big partnerships, but we'll do that after the break.
Okay, thank you.
All right, with that, time now to slip into a very short break. But when we come back, we talk about the company's ambitious expansion strategy. Welcome back. You're watching Welspun One and CNBC TV18 present the transformation of Indian warehousing, where I'm in conversation with Anshul Singhal, Managing Director of Welspun One. Anshul, you have forged partnerships with marquee clients, very high-profile clients. Could you share your insights into these collaborations? What were the demands like? I do get a sense from your Proxima Pulse and Gateway coming together and collaborating and synergizing. But if you could tell us in an anecdotal way, how did that pan out?
Yeah, very simply comes to us is, I always believe that working with clients is something what we call co-creating a solution with them. And it's very solution driven. So warehousing are very technical sales. So most of our salesmen are engineers, designers, architects, and they really sit down with customers and try to understand their pain areas and design solutions around them. And that forms a very natural rapport with the customer to kind of build out a solution. So for example, we delivered India's largest sort center for a company called Delivery, which is a listed company, one of my favorite brands. I really admire what they do. And we ended up making a 20-acre large 7 lakh square feet warehouse for them. But while we were in that process of building that warehouse, it took us 9 months to conceptualize the design together, because they're putting a sort center in there, which sorts out 60,000 to 70,000 packages per hour, right? So it was really important for them to get the building design right. That, and then a completely opposite example, we worked with a company called Parekh Logistics, a homegrown brand, a very highly respected brand. They had the opposite problem. They wanted to build something in lesser space, but wanted to do 3PL operation and cold storage, because they had to supply life-saving drugs in the state of Tamil Nadu from the cold storage, and the warehouse temperature could not drop beyond a certain degree. So we worked with them for a few months and developed a solution. Similarly, we work with Tata, we work with Nestle, we work with DHL, Delivery, as I mentioned, Asian Paints, Amazon, Flipkart, all of them. Yeah.
Are there any specific regions or sectors that you are now sort of targeting and looking at? And I'm sure the geography also plays a very important role in getting work done and, liaising with the infrastructure and the rules, regulations and the governments. But what would you say is the next big region or sector for you?
So I'll break it in two parts, region and sector. So region, obviously, we follow the demand. We like to stick with the key cities of Mumbai, Delhi, Bangalore, Chennai, Pune, NCR for geographies. We also, I always say that trend catches up much faster than infrastructure does.
Right.
So all these cities have a young population, access to technology, per capita income growing, educated, hungry, ambitious workforce. They're all on their cell phones. They're all ordering stuff every day. So, I don't see us catching up to the demand in our lifetimes, to be very honest. Yeah, there could be temporary blips, like NCR today is going through a oversupply blip of warehousing, but that's a blip in a 5-year period.
Yeah.
But if you look at a 3 to 5 year picture, these are the geographies I would stick to.
Right.
The second part of your question, which is sectors. Very simple, consumption-focused sectors. So FMCG, FMCD, fashion and retail, pharmaceuticals, and a little bit of industrial. So these are the 5 sectors, which is basically, if you just look around the studio, everything that's here, including the clothes that we're wearing, has passed through the warehouse at some point.
Right.
So everyone needs a warehouse, right? And so anything that focuses on fulfilling that consumption demand. Now, it's important to note that the mode of getting to the customer has improved significantly in the last 10 years.
Right.
So first there were 3PL companies only, or transport companies. Then they turned into these mega 3PLs and 4PLs like DHL, for example, which is a good customer of ours. Another amazing brand to work with. And e-commerce kind of added steroids to that entire engine by giving the control on the palm of your hand. And quick commerce is now becoming the next big thing. So the modes have changed. So they are still our customers, right? So the Amazons of the world, the Swiggies of the world, the Instamarts of the world. But they're effectively engines that propel the service of the 5 sectors that I mentioned earlier.
Tell me, what is the kind of pressure that the changing customer demand is putting on these warehouses and the functioning, and how fast do you have to change your own tech, or how fast are you keeping up with this hyper consumerism that is sort of presenting the business opportunity?
I think that has to be my favorite question, because that's something that I personally spend a lot of time on. And we always, because trend is always moving so dynamically and quickly, we've actually created inside our company an innovation cell. And these are like 5 to 6 very talented, free-thinking individuals in our team. Architects, thinkers, designers, they travel, they see other parts of the world, they see what's going on. And we're also very, very close to our customers. And we keep trying to identify trends ahead of them like just beginning to pop up, and try to catch up the infrastructure beforehand. So for example, while nobody else was building a mixed-use logistics hub like Thane,
right.
We launched the project a year ago. And now we're seeing quick commerce take up. So we faced a little bit of flack, saying, what are you guys doing? Is this going to take off? And now, those places are renting at about 130 to 150 rupees a square foot, the highest rentals in the country, right? And we got World Trade Center to brand it. So I would say we're pretty good at that. Of course, can we always be on top of it? No. It does put a lot of pressure on a company like ours to be able to adapt. But I must say most of our buildings, for them to get outdated, would take about 30 to 40 years. Because the buildings are designed to be able to add plug-ons to them as technology changes.
I want to talk about the funds now. The first 2 rounds have seen a notable success in the market. What were some of the critical factors back then? And now that you are ready to plunge into the market once again with a 4,000 crore target, what are the specific market needs and investment opportunities that you are looking at? So it's a loaded question. You can start with the first 2.
Yeah, I'm sure a lot of our investors are listening in right now. See, my logic on fund management has always been that a performance of a fund is a sum total of the performance of its investments, right? So if you do each investment well, manage it well, put passion, rigor, talent, and technology behind it, then it performs well, and then the fund performs well. So fund is just a tally. We ended up launching our first fund, 500 crores. Our second fund was 4 times of that. And the reason that was the case is we actually returned capital of the first fund, 40% of the capital, back to the investors 2 years ahead of promise, right? So that's great confidence. We also launched a platform very transparently of technology where investors can see their investments at all times. So we're the only real estate or infra or hard assets fund which has a technology like that in India for retail investors. And that led us to the success of Fund 2. Now, Fund 2 is almost 75% committed within 6 months of raising it. So, and that's great because then we get the whole 6-year timeline to build it out. And that's why we're launching Fund 3, which is pretty much just an extension of Fund 2. And Fund 3 is just twice the size of Fund 2 rather than 4 times the size. And the reason for 4,000 crores is because, what we're seeing is that each project is actually getting bigger in size.
Right.
So rather than doing 15, 20 projects, we'll probably be doing 6 to 8, 10 projects in Fund 3, but much bigger projects. Bigger projects allow us to focus more time and effort into each project, more passion into each project, better talent, because the project can afford better talent, plus deliver better returns to our investors because, in a bigger project, bigger projects can weather the storm a bit easier. So if there's an economic issue or a sudden, black swan event, bigger projects are able to sustain that. Our Bhiwandi project went through all sorts of issues. It had COVID, it had lockdown, it had the Russian-Ukraine crisis, but we still exited that project with an 18% return to our investors with money back, right? So that's our strategy for Fund 3.
Wonderful. Before I let you go, what is exciting you about the future, keeping the trends, market trends, geopolitics, of course, what is happening around in the world, and the domestic economy, which is thriving in India? What is something that is exciting you for the next 3-4 years?
So many things, but India is just, I think, the best place to be at the moment for any professional or any talent. But, for us, we have a few simple things that we want to keep doing, which have been working for us. And, there is an old saying, don't fix it when it's not broken.
Of course.
We want to continue investing in technology like we have, both internal, external, both in terms of construction, software, digital. We actually have a small AI cell in our company now, which is producing up some really cool stuff. We want to continue investing significantly in talent. So we're a company that invested in talent ahead of the business. So even before we had business, we had talent in place. And That is paid off many times because that's the reason we have projects like a JNPA and a World Trade Center. We want to continue deploying 1,000 to 1,200 crores every year, which will automatically take us to a 32 million square feet by 2028, reaching a 1 billion mark. And while we do all this, we want to pay a lot of importance to governance. So we are very, very big on governance. We have an independent investment committee to an independent board, very transparent systems. I could talk about it all day long. But in short, these are the 4 or 5 things that we want to do properly.
Well, best of luck, Anshul, for that very ambitious expansion plan. And may you set milestones that others can also follow and get inspired from. Thank you so much. Thank you for taking our time.
Thank you.
As we wrap up this engaging session on the transformation of Indian warehousing, it's evident that the sector is no longer just a support function. It has become a cornerstone of India's economic progress. And Welspun One's innovative approach, strategic partnerships, and commitment to sustainable growth are setting benchmarks for the industry. Thank you for joining us, and stay tuned for more such transformational stories on CNBC TV18.